Alrighty, y'all, we back. Sweaty Nation, what is going on, y'all? Welcome to another installment of the Sweaty Cast. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I am one half of the Sweaty Cast. You can call me Sweatstradamus, NeoGameSpark. And joining me today, he's making his triumphant return to the world of podcasting and the world of streaming. I've got my right-hand man, Sweaty Supreme Suslord himself. Shut up, Gabe, my brother. What is going on, man? How you been?
Living, not dying.
Yeah. So for those who are wondering, because we kind of set a goal for ourselves to be as consistent as possible here on the Sweaty Cast. We had to take last week off for one particular reason. The homie Shut Up Gabe was not feeling well. So if you just want to catch up the viewers on everything that's been going down, feel free, bro.
Yeah, I went to work, felt weird as fuck. I took a test at work and it came back positive, and then I went to the doctors just to verify and said I was positive. So I had COVID for the first time last Sunday I only had it for like 4 or 5 days. I might have had it a little bit longer. Might have been a little bit longer, but they prescribed me like this antiviral. So I got over the gist of feeling sick in about like 3 or 4 days, but I didn't like feel like myself maybe till like the fifth or sixth day.
Yeah, man. I remember I actually caught it at the end of last year, and it was the weirdest sicknesses I've ever gotten. Like, I've gotten sick before. I've gotten pretty bad. Like, I've had the flu. I've had random bouts here and there. But when I had COVID, it wasn't necessarily that I felt like I was dying, but it was this persistent feeling. Like, like there's something in your body and you just
Mhm.
want it to get out. That's how it persisted. So for me, the effects weren't as severe outside of like coughing and some congestion, but it's like that prolonged feeling. It took me almost a month to properly recover from that.
Really? Yeah. See, I didn't get coughing. I just had sore throat and no energy. That was like my big two was like no energy and sore throat. That was like I think that's as far as it progressed. So once I started taking that medication, I started feeling like a little bit better. But I was waiting for the cough and everything else. But the congestion part, that was no joke. The congestion lasted like way even after I felt better. I think I just stopped being congested maybe like the last couple days.
And it's crazy because you would like it's not even that you're sneezing or whatever. It's just you wake up and like half your head you can't breathe out of, and it's like, bro, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
wait, what type of medication did they give you for that?
Some new she said it was some new medicine that was like for to help, she says, to help stop the COVID infections, what she said. So she said that like my symptoms should lessen, like whatever I get now is like where it should stop at. So it was some like I forgot, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was 3 tablets, well 6 tablets technically, but the doses were in three tablets. I had to take 3 in the morning and I had to take 3 at night for 5 days.
Okay, wow, that's surprising because I remember when everyone first started catching COVID, they was like, "Hey, yo, fam, drink that lemon water, drink that tea, and
Lemon water, that
just
vitamin
hope,
C.
just hope for the best in that case." But that's surprising. I didn't know they gave you at least something to lessen the effects because recovering for like the past, like recovering 4 or 5 days after that is pretty speedy, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I tested negative maybe on like the fourth or fifth day, so that's why I wondered if I had it longer than that, and I was just getting the side effects later on. I wasn't sure, but like Thursday night was like my last dosage I had to take, and then I tested clean the next day. So I'm not too sure, but I'm just glad it wasn't like any worse. But I feel like the medicine side effects were a lot worse than the actual COVID, because she listed
Mm.
like this huge line, like list of like side effects like you'd hear like the speedy guy say on
Yeah.
like any commercial, like
Was
on a
she was she
Sudafed
was she was
commercial.
she frolicking through the fields, just saying like how great
Yeah,
it is, and then she's saying possible
yeah.
side effects, death.
Basically, and like she's telling me all the side effects you would get from this medicine, and I literally got every single one of those side effects. So like part of me was like, shit, I don't know what was worse, the medicine or the COVID. But I mean, I will say it definitely ended quicker than I anticipated it to. But the medicine, dude, it straight up just gave me diarrhea ass and
Oof.
like
More
headache.
so than usual. More so than
More
usual.
so than usual, more so than
Jesus.
usual, dude. And that you saw my soup kitchen comments on Twitter,
R.I.P. to those Target bathrooms, bro. Like straight up,
right,
they were working double, triple, quadruple overtime dealing with this man.
right. And then the bad taste in mouth was the
Oh,
other one, and that one was fucking awful. That one came and went like throughout the day, and like once that taste got in your mouth, it tasted like the medicine. That's what it tastes like.
oh
That shit did
God.
not leave, so it just tasted like chemicals
Oh
basically all
Jesus.
day, dude. And that I think that was the worst part. Like no matter what I would eat, drink, you name it, it did not matter. That I mean, I could taste everything, but the getting rid of that medicine taste would only last for so long, and then it just be right back to where I started all over again. But other than that,
Jesus, bro, talk about some side effects. My God. I don't even know.
right,
Like,
dude?
what would you think would be worse if you lost your taste or if you had to deal with that? I'd rather lose my sense of taste,
Yeah,
because at least I
I
know
kind
that'll
of
come
want that
back at some
too.
point.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning on that side because like that shit would just hit you in the middle of the night too. Like you would just be sleeping and like you would just like wake up because like there's just this foul like pill
Ugh,
taste in your mouth. So
Jesus.
yeah, I'm not too sure about that, Chief.
That's terrible. But you know what, man? You know what? You're here. You're alive. You're healthy.
Live,
We're
I'm good.
happy to have you back, Gabe. And I hope, over the next like week or so, depending on how long those symptoms last, I wish you a speedy recovery on that, my friend.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
But now that we've gotten that out of the way, it is time to go into overdrive, ladies and gentlemen, because since we took off a week from the Sweaty Cast, there is a lot of news that we have to go ahead and recap and discuss. So for some of y'all, the things that we're going to be talking about is going to be considered old news compared to how people cover things in the news cycle. But there were a couple of things that did happen last week that Gabe and I did want to speak our piece on. So we might as well start with the biggest news story of last week. It's so funny because this was actually a topic on the previous episode that we did, and this has to do with God of War Ragnarok. We finally got a concrete release date on this. God of War Ragnarok will be launching on November 9th for both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. In addition to that, we got confirmations that they'll be having a couple of different editions of the game, collector's editions, super duper collector's editions, things like that. But yeah, November 9th, pretty interesting date because that is going to be launching on a Wednesday, not the November 11th date like a lot of people were expecting
Yeah,
it.
that's what they were hoping.
But
They were all really hoping for that shit.
yeah, and honest to God, I mean, I kind of wanted it to launch on November 11th just to see how Twitter would react, because oh boy, the console fanboys would have a field day with that one, bro.
The memes alone for that would have been pretty fucking funny.
No, absolutely. That would be like, here's how you share your games on PS4 2.0. It's like, oh, well, we have a game launching. We got a game launching on November 11th. I don't know about y'all, but yeah, November 9th. Gabe, what do you think about this release date?
It was pretty. I mean, I said my guess was that it was gonna come out November. That was my guess, and I was pretty happy with the November release date. I believe like the 9th is something like Nordic related. If I remember correctly, that's another reason why they chose the 9th.
Yeah, they
I
were
don't
saying
remember
the 9th was Odin's Day.
Odin's Day. That's
Odin's
right.
Day, yeah. So there's that's probably why they want to release it on a Wednesday. But that's insane though, like, because like part of me had to retrain my brain to a lot of the video games nowadays getting released on Fridays, because before it was always Tuesdays, always Tuesdays, with the exception of Nintendo, who used to do Sunday release dates. You remember those, bro?
Dude, that was so holy crap, man. That threw me back.
Yes, sir.
Now, dude, Sunday release dates, dude, that's holy shit. I'm like thinking, like, when was the last like Sunday release date for a Nintendo game?
The last one that I could remember off the top of my head was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon on the 3DS. I remember they were having a launch event for that and it was coming out Sunday, but ever since then, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure people in the comment section will fill us in, but yeah, it's always been Tuesdays and Sundays, and now, with the advent of digital, we have like
It's all over the place now, I feel like.
yeah, we got Thursday launch days, we got Fridays, Tuesdays, things like that. But now we got a Wednesday.
Like a big day.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday seems to be like a big day. But yeah, no, I'm pretty stoked. I think that it coming out in November is great. The fact it's coming out at the end of this year is great. Like I said, the only part that I thought would have been funny is if it came out on the 11th. But I mean, regardless of the fact, we did guess that it would come out that week though, because Black Friday is 2 weeks later, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
So we were guessing they had to get it in before the sales, and then I forgot what the other gist was, if there was something else we said, but I'm excited that we're gonna be getting this game in like literally like 5 months, 4 months.
Yeah, it's like we're at that point now where it's less than 4 months out from God of War, and I, I would say that that's like the most anticipated game for me for the rest of the year, and I'm
Same.
like, it's one of those games where I'm stupidly getting excited for. Like, there weren't really a lot of games this year where my hype was through the roof, but God of War is that game where I'm literally going to start counting down the days once we get closer and closer. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go dark on everything they show. You know, they haven't shown a lot because, you know, that's the Sony thing. But, you know, any state of play that they do, any new trailers that they drop, I'm just going to avoid those completely and go into it with a fresh mindset, because that's how I do a lot of my gaming nowadays, and that's what I want to do with movies too. It's just, it's so hard because, you know, you watch a trailer and you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, they're not gonna show much, and it's like, Jesus Christ, there's a post credit scene in the fucking
Right.
trailer, you know?
Like my only problem, I guess I'll have to say, and like I might get some flack for this, but like I don't know how much gameplay wise God of War 2 will change.
Yeah,
Like compared
that's
to
the thing.
one.
So
Like
there was one thing I do want to say, and then you'll continue. The fact that the game is cross gen, it still concerns me a bit, because they say it's going to be
same.
so much bigger than the first one, but really, like, to what extent is this game going to be that different? I mean, obviously I feel like they're holding a lot of stuff back because they want to surprise folk, but you still got to develop it on the PS4, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that's a 10-year-old
I
machine.
mean, if it comes out with 2 disc on PS4, I'll definitely say there's some heft to what they have to say about it being bigger. If it's 2 disc on the PS4, if it's not 2 disc, then that seems a little spooky to me. I mean, look at Red Dead 2, you know. So I mean,
True.
I'm not saying that theoretically it's not impossible, but it's definitely spooky that it's can play on the PS4. But then again, like there is definitely a possibility that the game could have had a narrative design for PS5 as well while still being on PS4. So there could be a chance that we could have a little bit of a, like an integrate kind of situation for the
Hmm.
PS5. But I mean, I'm not counting on it.
Yeah, and I question the length of the game, because this is the end of the Norse route for God of War. Now, whether or not that means we'll get more stories in the future, starring Kratos, or maybe Atreus takes his place, we don't know. But this is the finale, and I feel like they have a lot of stuff to wrap up on. So there was a lot of narrative storylines established in the first God of War that they have to address here. And then you factor in Thor, and you factor in Oda, and you factor in Freya, and how they're all coming out against you. I'm really curious. Like, I would assume this game is going to be longer than the first one.
Me
Um,
too.
I would assume that much. Like, whether it's going to be 5 to 10 hours longer or double the length, I'm not so sure. But either way, I'm very excited for it. A couple of other details that have come out since then. The collector's editions will be going on sale tomorrow. So if you guys are watching the stream tonight, you can pre-order them tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the launch edition, digital deluxe edition, collector's edition, and the Jotnar edition, which comes with the Mjolnir replica. If you
Mhm.
are going to be pre-ordering the Jotnar edition, just let it be known that it does not actually come with a physical copy of the game. It comes with a digital code, yet you still get a steelbook, which I thought was very strange.
It's very weird. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had PC games that do that where you pre-order it and it comes with a steelbook, but there's no disc. I mean, I can't tell you the last PC game that I bought like physically. Well, that's double dip on that. Can't tell you the last time I went into a store and bought a PC game with a physical disc. So because most of it is digital either way, and
Hmm.
you rarely see PC games in the store as is. But I have bought, I think when I bought New World, it came with New World came with the steelbook, but there's no disc for New World.
Yeah, it's very strange. I think the last time I bought a physical copy of a PC game was Dragon Age, or no, Dragon Age 2. I bought it because it was on clearance at Target like a few months after it came out. And then when I bought that game, I realized I don't ever want to buy a physical PC game ever again, because it's like I had to install like 2 discs and then never used the discs again. I was like, oh, well, what's the point of that? You know, so it's like one of those disconnects. I know consoles were veering towards that point.
Mhm.
But I feel like when you have things like the Nintendo Switch and all the other niche games that come out, I'd rather own those physical. But God of War, I'm definitely gonna buy this game digitally. Just how I've been with a lot of my console games as of late. It's crazy. You know, isn't it
Like the
insane?
digital?
Yeah, like digital. Like for me, it's like last generation at the start, I was definitely more physical with a little bit of digital.
Yeah.
But this whole generation, it's been primarily digital based. With some physical copies here, like if I get a gift from somebody, like when you got me Immortals Phoenix Rising. And then like certain games I find really special. Like if let's say for example, like the next Persona game comes out, it's got a special edition, I'll buy that physically. But yeah, man, like everything I've bought has been digital. Same thing for like Xbox. I have not bought a physical Xbox Series game this generation. Everything is digital in Game Pass.
You know, it's weird because like I guess I'm kind of the same way when I think about it. I only buy like stuff that I'm actually really crazy about or passionate for physically
Hmm.
versus um like digital because most time I just go digital now, especially like when you own like a gaming PC. Like I almost find no difference when I play like on my PlayStation on buying physical and buying digital, especially that digital downloads faster now than disc
Hmm.
because when I was it I tested out it was with Assassin's Creed. I used the disc, download the PS4 version, and then I it had me download the PS5 version. And the PS5 version of the game, it re-downloaded the entire game because I checked to see like the gigs on it,
Hmm.
and it downloaded faster and installed faster than it ripping it off my disc. And
Dude,
I and same thing tested again with Demon Souls. Did install Demon Souls off of a disc. That shit took forever, but I downloaded what was there was another PS5 game I downloaded. I can't remember. It might have been Ratchet and Clank. I don't remember. And that shit took maybe like half the time that it did on than disc.
dude, it's crazy. I remember that same thing, similar situation happened to me. So every December, me and a few people get together and we play Grand Theft Auto Online. This is the only time per year I play GTA Online because it's just like a nostalgic thing. We've been doing it since the launch of Grand Theft Auto on PlayStation 4. So we just get together, we dick around, have fun. I remember I had a physical copy of the game and I had installed it, and I think it took almost half an hour to install the game onto my PS5. And then when I installed the game, for whatever reason, because you know when the PlayStation 5 first came out, it was kind of janky with the updates.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember I had downloaded my save data, and for whatever reason, something happened, and my game file got deleted. And I was like, "Bro, I have to wait another half hour while this installs." So I said, "You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna buy a digital copy of GTA 5 just for the hell of it. It's $12. I don't care." I bought that, and it installed the whole game with all the updates and everything in like I think 10 minutes. And that was another thing. All the updates for GTA Online downloaded way faster than it took the game to install. So it's at that point, man, where I mean convenience is king. Like look, 10 minutes, like literally you could be like, "Yo, let's get on this game." All right, fuck it, 10 minutes. All right, it's all downloaded, 100 gigs, man. It was
Right?
crazy.
Dude, it's such a weird like subject to talk about because like I know a lot of people like physical media and I don't blame them. I love physical media, especially for movies. But like it's funny because I've been playing computer games like heavily since like 2010. And so like the only like entity I've ever known of purchasing and playing games has been downloading them off of Steam.
Yeah.
Like physical has never really been, even with like most like AAA titles when they release a collector's edition, 9 times out of 10, dude, that shit skips PC most of the time.
Right.
And there's a reason behind that.
Hmm.
There's only very few games that actually do, like I mean, Final Fantasy 14, they'll release a collector's edition for the PC, and like some other like couple other like niche games are like got like pretty big within the PC community. Same thing, but like a lot of stuff just gets skipped on PC, and I'm just so used to it. So like when I buy games on my PS5, it's such a struggle
Mhm.
to decide on what to get because it's the fact that I'm used to just buying shit digitally and having it on a library. That hasn't been a problem for me in over 10 years. But then there's also me that's like, I also like owning it physically, especially when I have my console because I have a reason now to own it physically because I can
Yep.
buy it physically. So it's really fucking hard when I buy things, you know? Like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I got the special edition for that one, the one that came with the steel book.
Yeah, same here.
That was physical. Red Dead 2 was physical. That was another steel book. Shadow of the Colossus, that was also the steelbook edition too. Got that physical. Demon Souls was physical. But like games I'm just really really big on. Spider-Man obviously physical. But like it's funny because there's just times where I just like it's so hard to decide because especially nowadays, I think the biggest appeal for digital, at least for me now, is that a lot of games have been switching to this whole like global launch date
Mhm.
where it's like, oh yeah, when it turns midnight in this one country, it'll unlock for all. And that's
Yeah.
not for and that's not for every single platform because Sony Sony could be real cucks about it sometimes. And they're like, oh no, you still gotta wait for that shit
Eastern.
to be midnight.
They would do it at like Pacific Standard Time for everybody, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
bro.
But like on Dying Light 2, I came home from work, it was 4 p.m. and I got to load that shit up on PC. And that was fucking great. It was a day 4 p.m. the day before I was off the next day. Like that's like as childhood good
Uh
feeling you
huh.
could get
Hell
when it comes
yeah.
to a game
Yes,
as
sir.
possible.
Yes,
So
sir.
like it's definitely a struggle. Like the first God of War, I bought that on digital and I got to play that when I came home from work. It was like 10 o'clock, but it was whatever. I think I was working evenings then. So like I got to play that and I didn't have to wait the next day. And that's the only problem I have with physical is like I have to wait the next day to play it. And especially a lot of the times, and I know a lot of us are like this,
Mm-hmm.
we usually plan if it's a game we really want to play, we usually plan our off days around that
You
shit.
know it,
Like
dude. Holy
I am
shit.
guiltily have requested off time plenty of times to play games.
That's what I did
Plenty
for
of times.
last time I did that was for Spider-Man PS4.
I
I
think same here.
Yep.
Same here.
I tried to get the whole weekend off. I tried to get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off to play that game. Well, actually, no. At the time, I had Sundays off. But I wanted to get that Friday, Saturday. And Saturdays, even though it was so dead at the job I was working at the time, they were just like, no, we need staff that day. So I asked my manager, I was like, can you at least give me the Friday off? And he said, okay. So I had the weirdest weekend where it was like, Thursday night I worked. Friday I was off. I picked up the game, played Spider-Man all day, went back to work on Saturday, which was the most excruciating day because that's the worst thing, having a gap after you got a good game. But I was like,
oh, dude, yes.
it was okay because I was off Sunday, so I was like, all right, perfect, I could do that. And yeah, so like that's definitely like that whole global launch. Like I remember, I forgot what it was, but one game recently they went based off the Australian time. So it was like for most people out there 12 hours earlier, huh?
I was gonna say, was it Elden Ring? But you had to change like on consoles, you had to change your like time to like there, like you had to like change your like world clock or world whatever to that to like New Zealand time or some shit like that.
It might have been that one, but either way, it just adds on to the whole, digital being more convenient and coming in clutch. Like the last thing you want is to order a game off of it. And remember, Amazon, they don't do like release date guarantees anymore. So imagine
dude, they used to, bro. Dude, like I don't know like how these people do. I always see it online, and I'm like, why can't that ever be me? Why is it like I order a physical game? Why can I not get that shit like a day early or like 2 days early? Like I always see people posting this shit, bro, and I'm like, man, why? I was like, couldn't it be me? Because this never fucking happens.
Exactly. But speaking on the topic of digital games and the convenience, there are unfortunately some downsides, as we've seen, and we just got another example this past week. So out of nowhere, a couple of users reported that Assassin's Creed Liberation HD, which was a PlayStation Vita game that was re-released on modern hardware, HD'd up, prettier graphics, blah blah blah. For whatever reason, the game could no longer be purchased on Steam. And a lot of people were freaking out, like, what's happening? Like, the game is, you can't buy the game. It's being delisted out of nowhere. Online services were going down. And it caused such a frenzy because there were a lot of people wondering whether or not they could reinstall the game. Like, if you bought the game, are you going to be able to reinstall it? What's the story in the DLC? And at the time, what's it called? There was no update, so it was assumed that you would lose access to the game. Period. So it basically started up the conversation about digital. While it is a convenience, there is that scary elephant in the room where, in some situations, you might lose access to it completely, whereas you can't re-download it at all. That happened recently with some licensed Activision titles. But since then, Ubisoft has issued a statement in regards to this because it went crazy. As stated in our support article, only DLCs and online features will be affected by the upcoming decommissioning. Current owners of those games will still be able to access, play, or re-download them. Our teams are working with our partners to update this info across all storefronts, and will be assessing all available options for players who are impacted when these games' online services are decommissioned on September 1st, 2022. It has always been our intention to do everything in our power to allow these legacy titles to remain available in the best possible conditions for players, and this is what we are working towards. So yeah, that combined with just all the shutting down of multiplayer and online services for a lot of games, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, part of me understands that obviously these games cannot exist in perpetuity. Like, of course, you're not gonna. If there's only 5 people playing the online for Far Cry 4, why in the world would Ubisoft want to support that?
Yeah, that's just a way. That's a lot of money out of them to keep that going. So it makes sense. Like, why would you keep the online component to it? But taking the whole like game being playable though.
Yeah, that's what's honestly confusing to me, because with the amount of times that these Ubisoft games go on sale and how accessible they are, like, as far as publishers go, Ubisoft, I think, more than anyone, puts their games on sale for dirt cheap, like Ubisoft, Capcom. So there's always new people getting into these franchises, and to take away all of those games, or at least they're starting to, and not giving people an option, it brings up the whole discussion: buy your games physically if you want to keep them on the shelf, and then also piracy sailing the high seas. I mean, some people condone it, some people don't condone it, but in situations like this, I can't fault somebody for wanting to, pirate Assassin's Creed Liberation HD if it's not available on a legal storefront.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely played games that the license isn't around anymore that I've had to pirate because there's no other way to play it. It's non-existent, like the Battle for Middle-earth series, because EA lost the licensing to Lord of the Rings ages ago. Well, they got it again for a mobile game, besides the point, but they lost the licensing for that after Conquest. I think it was the Battlefront 2 spinoff that was Lord of the Rings style. It was pretty interesting. But I've had to download like that because there's no other way to play the game. Like, there's no other means to obtain that game at all without it being on, without being pirated. Which is kind of ironic because Liberation's kind of around pirates, but
so it's keeping on brand. I mean, look at that, man.
But it's weird because the rewording of it, like, I don't know what that, like, what they're trying to say with the whole oh god, I'm losing train of thought on the whole situation. I'm losing train of thought. So they're saying that you can't play it after like an X date, but they are saying that you can though.
So they're saying that you can read. So if you own the game now, you can re-download it, and they're assessing what to do in the future, which is basically code for, yeah, if you guys, don't buy this game, then we're taking it down. But if you do buy this game, the week before we'll be like, okay, we'll leave it on the storefront just to get more sales, which it's just we're gonna go through this again, unfortunately, when we talk about the PlayStation Store going down, because that is gonna happen again for PS3 and Vita games.
Mm-hmm. And there's another thing too. Another topic that people are talking about with that is that they're also saying that the reason why they're also taking it down is like another scumming reason, but apparently you can play Liberation through Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered that came out in 2019 because Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered had Liberation bundled within it.
Yeah, I remember that. Like when I bought it on Xbox, like I think 2 years ago,
Yeah,
it came with Liberations as a separate download. But I mean, either way, it's like, what if someone played Assassin's Creed 3 on the consoles and they just wanted to play Liberations HD on the PC? It's like, why are we killing options, Ubisoft?
Probably because Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered is $40 and Liberation's 20.
They would just want you to own all that, get that extra $20.
You spend $40 to buy 3. I mean, I couldn't. I'm just gonna say this. I can't imagine Liberation sales is that high. Like, I can't imagine. I can definitely tell you that when most people talk about Assassin's Creed, Liberation ain't the first one to be brought up.
Not at all. So we'll see what happens on that one. Moving into more depressing news from publishers. Oh boy, I really feel for this fandom. Red Dead Online. Oh boy, more like Red Dead Online. I mean, literally. That's literally what it's called, Red Dead Online. So, if you've been a fan of Rockstar games, or in this point, it's Grand Theft Auto games, you would know that Rockstar's cash cow is GTA Online. It's been their major focal point for the past couple of years, and going into the future, that's what it is. Honestly, single player seems to be an afterthought for them. But they did launch a new game, a critically acclaimed single player game, that being Red Dead Redemption 2, almost 4 years ago at this point, and it took a little while, but we did get the Red Dead Online component. Red Dead Online is also standalone too, but compared to GTA Online, Red Dead Online has received sparse updates. The content support for that game was very minuscule by comparison. They've done some things here and there, but nothing to the degree of what people were expecting. And unfortunately, we just got the final nail in the coffin. Red Dead Online won't be getting any major themed updates as resources are shifted to Grand Theft Auto 6. And in addition to that, this one is not concrete confirmation, but this is coming from a reputable gaming leaker, if you will. But Rockstar had in development remasters / remakes of both Red Dead Redemption 1 and Grand Theft Auto 4. They were on the table a few years ago. They were in development at some point, but they chose not to proceed with the projects. And obviously, a lot of people are assuming that the reason why they went ahead and canceled these, 2 reasons. Number one, obviously to focus on Red Dead or GTA Online and GTA 6. And the other one, the disastrous launch of Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition last year. So there is a silver lining, though, according to some other sources. Remember, you got to take sources in the video game industry like a grain of salt. The remasters are not necessarily completely off the table. They've just been shelved. So at some point you could see them return. Unfortunately, it wouldn't happen until GTA 6 launches, whenever it comes out, whether it's 2024, 2025. But either way, this is very, very disappointing news if you are a fan of Red Dead games or if you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto 4, because it continues the discussion we've been having, Gabe, about Rockstar games and how it's just, if you're a fan, if you grew up playing Rockstar games back in the PlayStation 2 era, the PS3 era, and you saw their output of games and you compare it to what they're doing now, it's very disappointing, man. So when people asked me, are you sad? Are you angry that they shelved remasters for Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto? I said no, because Rockstar has been a very, very different company for the past 10 years. Extremely different company.
Yeah, very. They've been different since I feel like Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah, I
feel like that's where it all changed.
Everything that we've gotten since then, like the launch of GTA 5 on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, all we've gotten since then, only new games, mind you, has been Red Dead Redemption 2. And so from GTA 5 in 2013 to Red Dead, that's been 5 years. You've gotten one new game, and since then, we don't have any other games. We haven't had anything in between. What we've gotten have been re-releases of GTA 5 on PS4 and now on PS5, and the Trilogy Definitive Edition, which they bought. So it's one of those things where, as a Rockstar fan, I understand, like, Rockstar games are games of the generation. You, like, there's a reason why they have a pedigree, but to the same degree, bro, it's getting so disappointing. Like literally from GTA 5 in 2013 to when GTA 6 comes out, it'll have been 11, 12, 13 years, and we haven't gotten any substantial new content from this. You've gotten little tiny things here and there in GTA Online, but nothing to the degree of like Ballad of Gay Tony or The Lost and Damned or, you know, the stuff we got in GTA. So it's just,
that was some good stuff too. Ballad of Gay
absolutely.
Tony, man. Ballad of Gay Tony was probably the multiplayer component of that game was great, and that like stuff like that you can look back on and like just you're mesmerized by just everything that in that point of time that you played was good, you know, all around good vibes, good feelings. And like now I can't even give you that with Red Dead. I mean, I can give you that with Red Dead 2 as a game, like story wise, but like as far as like continued like support of the game with content, I can't even like, there's nothing I can really, outside of my enjoyment of beating the game, there hasn't been really anything else outside of that makes it go, oh crap, that was really cool when they added this. Like, oh yeah, remember when they did Undead Nightmare? Like, that was
yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Like,
yep.
Stuff like that, bro. Like Undead Nightmare, best $15 I respect.
Hell yeah.
But like there's just that charm. There's just a lack of that charm, man. It sucks because, dude, I wanted that Red Dead remake so bad. I wanted that Red Dead 1 remake so bad, bro. Like, give me that Red Dead remake with that original Red Dead Online. I'm caked in and sold.
That's all you got to do. And that's the thing, bro. I would definitely show up for like obviously not a from the ground up remake, but like a half step remake for Red Dead Redemption. I would show up for that. I would have fun with that. But as it stands, the best way if you do want to play Red Dead Redemption is on the Xbox Series consoles, because it's backwards compatible. You can play it, I think on the Series S it's 1440p, and on the Series X it's a native 4K. Not at 60 frames, but you know, it's a very, very, very stable unlock 30. But it's kind of sad though. It's like I'm not disappointed. I don't want to say it's even I'm conflicted. It's like, because I expected this, because this is the Rockstar of today and not the Rockstar of before. But it's still like, I feel like they're learning all the wrong lessons. Like them launching GTA Definitive Edition, it being a disaster. I don't want them to look at that and be like, oh, well, that's why we shouldn't do remasters. It's like, no, motherfucker, you put the game out like this. You didn't do no quality control. It's not our fault. Like, it's something so simple, and y'all screwed up PS2 games. But that's that's the story on that.
Y'all screwed up PS2 games.
I mean, like, god damn, bro. It's like, why is a PS2 game struggling at 60 frames? That made no sense to me, dude. $60 as well. Oh boy. Okay, so moving into the next news stories, we've got some release dates. We got a one release date confirmation and one release date shuffle. We'll start with the shuffle, and that being Forspoken. So Forspoken, which is the upcoming Square Enix action RPG developed by
Spooky.
Yeah, for Spooky, as everyone's been calling it. It was supposed to come out at we all assumed that it was supposed to come out at the end of the year. I believe they said it was like October or something like that, November. But Square Enix, they came out and they said that we have made the strategic decision after consulting with our partners that we need to delay Forspoken to January 2023. It's in the final polishing stages. The game is done, and we're going to have more to show later this summer. Strategic decisions with our key partners obviously means those niggas announced the release date for God of War. We got to get the fuck up out of there. We can't launch. We cannot launch in that period, man. But Gabe, what do you think about Forspoken? What do you think about the the situation surrounding the game for the past year, and now that it's been delayed, not a crazy delay. It's been delayed like 3 months or so to end of January. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I have zero interest in this game. like I don't know if I'm just missing what's supposed to be. I don't know if I'm just missing the idea of it. The combat looked hella spooky. I was like enticed with the main character and the environment, the theme of it. But like after watching gameplay trailers of it, I'm like, I'm shook, man. I'm shook like you almost dropped the glass salsa jar out of the cabinet shook like 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 the cool they moved the release date. Hopefully it looks better. I mean, I don't know, man. I just the gameplay trailers I saw, I just was not impressed with it. It just felt like a g- generic open world fantasy game. That's what it just seemed like to me. I didn't really see anything appealing behind it. And I hope I'm wrong because I would like to enjoy it, especially a game that's like being built up for current gen. So like I hope with the delay that the game looks better. I think my if I were to go with my biggest complaint on why the game makes my PP soft, I'd have to say is the combat of that game looks real janky.
Hmm.
And it looks real spooky. It looks very like simple, very basic.
So
And what were you gonna say?
So here's the incidentally, here's the funny thing about Forspoken. It was originally supposed to come out in May. It was
Oh
supposed to
no.
come out in May, and then they delayed it to October, and now they delayed it to January. And in my case, I was actually really excited when they announced this game. I thought it looked really cool. You
I mean,
know,
first announcement, yeah, I was
yeah,
very excited too.
it looked dope as hell. I looked at the visuals, I looked at the magic. I was like, yo, this is awesome, bro. But then the more and more I saw of the game, the more spooky it looked. Like from the set, like honestly, I don't know how big you are when it comes to sound design in game, but for me, sound design is actually getting pretty important because if I want to feel the impact of whatever you're doing in the world. And there was the one game that really took me out of the experience the most was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I was playing through that for a bit, and then I was listening to the sound effects of when this dude was slicing things, slicing boxes, and how compressed it sounded, how janky it sounded. I'm like, bro, I don't feel like there's any weight to this. Any weight to this. So when I saw Forspoken and everything looked very low energy, very low energy, things sounded very like the dialogue didn't seem polished. It seemed like they had come up with a really good tech demo for an engine. Like this looks like one of those tech demo engines that you see. And then they tried to make a game out of it. And then the final straw that really spooked me out, and I think I jumped off the hype train when this happened. They released this gameplay that was like, I forgot what it was. They released like a standalone video, and it had performance issues. It just looked like the same thing we've been seeing over and over again. And then I think a few hours later, they took down the video, which is so weird. Like the first time I saw an official channel take down a video for something. So they've been very quiet on this game, and I don't want this to be another Final Fantasy 15 because it is coming from the same developers, even though 15 was a whole other situation. But I kind of need them to get a W, man, because this is, if you go from 15, that was in 2016, and then you go to this and it's something else that's spooky. I'm kind of nervous, man.
I 100% agree, dude. I 100% agree. I just like I don't know, man. The excitement for this game for me is just like it's just not there. Like it's probably gonna be one of those games that like unless I like a couple people I know see it, I see them play it and it looks pretty good, I'll pick it up. But if not, it's probably gonna be one of those games I'm gonna wait until it's on discount or I probably will never play it ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for the best for this game because they're aiming for a
Same,
very high bar in terms of visuals. It's
same.
a current gen exclusive, so it's PlayStation 5 and
That's my
PC.
main reason for being excited for it, right there.
Yep. So, I mean, all the best to the team. We'll see what happens when the game. Well,
Same.
we're gonna see more later this
Godspeed
summer.
to you.
Godspeed to the Forsaken dev team. Now,
Mhm.
for speaking of other release dates, finally, alongside God of War, we also got another release date for an upcoming action title, Bayonetta 3. That's right, you guys. After going dark for so many years, we finally saw Bayonetta last year, and we got a release date a whole year later, October 28th. We're also going to get a special edition for this game. I'm just so freaking happy because this confirms that Bayonetta is real and it is a game that is coming out, and it's coming out soon. Gabe, are you excited for Bayonetta? Did you play the first two? Are you going to get number 3?
I played 1. I did not play 2 because 2 was on the Wii U, so I never had a chance to play. I know they bundled them together recently, so I have not got around to it. Honestly, the whole Wii U thing actually really irritated me more than it should have.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like marked Bayonetta dead in my head. I was like, damn, like I'm never gonna play this shit. Like I'm not buying a Wii U to play this shit. I was excited to see where 3 would be as far as if it was going to be on the Switch, because I was like, cool, my hopes of playing this game again is going to be revived. So I'm pretty excited it's going to be coming out in October. I probably will give me the push for me to play 2. As far as the game goes, I enjoy the Bayonetta series. I think it's a very unique Platinum games. Their games are always, just from the art styles and visuals alone, their games are always have this like this style to it that just draws me in. So I mean,
Like Babylon's Fall?
yeah, like Babylon's Fall, dude. That's my favorite. That's my favorite one. That's literally Babylon's Fall. Everything else, like
Guys, let me just put into perspective. We have about we literally have half of the Babylon's Fall player count right here with Shut Up Gabe. Straight up.
Yeah.
He's half the player count right now.
Outside of Babylon's Fall, I was thinking more like Vanquish.
Oh hell yeah. That's a great game.
And Metal Gear Revengeance. Like that's more the stuff I was thinking of.
Not Legend of Korra?
Not Legend of Corna.
Legend of Cornea.
What was it? The one Transformers game they did was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, Transformers Devastation. That shit was pretty good.
Yeah, and then
They did a Ninja Turtles game. They did a Ninja Turtles game.
I don't remember if it was good, but I did play it.
Yeah, I was so excited for that, and then I played it, and it was just that being under the Activision banner. Like, you got one good game with Transformers, and then the other two, Jesus Christ.
Right?
Yep.
So I mean, I'm pretty excited. I mean, like Bayonetta 2 came out with Wii U, so it's 2014, I think.
Yeah, 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Man.
So I mean, I'm glad that game's not held hostage on Wii U anymore. So the fact that 3's coming, I probably will just buy the Bayonetta 1-2 collection and play through them again.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of sad that Bayonetta 2 isn't on anything else outside of Nintendo devices, though, which is really weird because you can play Bayonetta 1 on essentially anything.
Yeah, because I believe Sega still owns I think they still own the distribution rights for Bayonetta, which is why it was able to come to PC and all the other systems. But yeah, that does suck though, because the Bayonetta games are fantastic, but the Switch, it's just like Bayonetta 2 was able to run well. Yeah,
that's my only holdback, bro. That's the only thing that's fucking me mentally.
It's gonna be one of those things where they're gonna work and try to get it at 60, and they can make it, but there are gonna be a lot of compromises along the way.
Just gonna plug my Pro controller in and just play with my eyes closed, I guess.
Honestly, bro, that's how it is when it comes to Switch games. I make it a point that when I start up a Switch game, I make sure I finish that Switch game and I don't play any other game, because the juxtaposition going from playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 at 392p and then jumping back to playing something at 4K, like, bro, I'm gonna have the meanest headache of my life, man. Jesus Christ.
Nah, I absolutely agree. It was like it was like when the Hobbit movies came out, because the Hobbit movies were in a higher FPS.
Oh
Because
yeah, 48 frames.
yeah, because that was before everyone started making the transition over, and that movie fucked up my eyesight so bad, like. Like I remember the first time I watched the Hobbit movie, dude, I was like, this doesn't look right. I was like, this doesn't look right. I'm like, these 48 frames, I was like, this shit's hurting my eyeballs.
It was the weirdest thing, bro, because you're not used to seeing that with movies, and you see it, and it's like this doesn't feel right. But I mean, Nintendo games have the opposite of that. Instead of getting 48 frames in a game, you're lucky if you get 24. Man, that's the sad part.
Right? Like, dude, I need my Switch Pro.
We definitely do need that. But yeah, Bayonetta 3 comes out October 28th. Also, we learned that they're going to be adding this thing called a naive angel mode, which is essentially it's a mode that will censor slightly explicit scenes, so to make it more all around appropriate when you're playing around with people. So she'll be wearing more clothes. But I honestly, I'll say that is a compromise. That is a compromise. I will say that much because, you know, you got the people online who are complaining, don't censor my games and blah blah blah. But this is a compromise. I'm not. I will not. I will not. Well, I'll censor your games. Gabe, your games I'll censor. Other people's games don't.
Censor my games.
Your games have to be censored. Your games have to be censored. Yours and Donataku's games have to be censored. You got to.
Don't censor my games.
I have to. But anyway, so yeah, that's that on Bayonetta 3. And now something out of the complete blue. No one expected this. Gabe, do you remember a game that came out on the PS3 and 360 called Lollipop Chainsaw?
Yeah.
So
what a fucking game.
A wild game where you play as a cheerleader and then your boyfriend gets decapitated and you wear his head on your waist and you have a chainsaw. Yep. It's all like cutesy and gory and out of this world crazy, which is something you'd expect from Suda51.
And James Gunn.
Yeah, and James Gunn. It was he had a part. He wrote, I believe, some of the game. But yeah, out of nowhere we learned that it's going to be getting a remake, which I didn't have on my bingo card, because usually when it comes
the funny thing about that is that it was actually leaked like months ago, and everyone was like, nah. Someone like reported it, and then everyone was like, nah, them making a Lollipop Chainsaw remake, that's like the last fucking thing that would ever be made.
So usually what happens in a lot of these situations where it comes to dormant IPs, what happens usually, you'll have like a company like, let's say, the Embracer Group, who will go ahead and buy up a bunch of IPs. And if they buy up IPs, 9 times out of 10, that means they have an interest in using them, whether it's a new game or they're going to test the waters with a remaster. So this publisher, Dragami Games, it's led by the original games producer Yoshimi Yasuda, confirmed that they're doing this remake. It's going to arrive next year, but they haven't announced anything else outside of that. It's going to be developed by a combination of people from the original game and then new development staff. It's gonna they aim for it to be faithful. There's going to be some differences, a more realistic approach to the graphics, which I think that kind of takes away from the charm of Lollipop Chainsaw, because the fact that it was very stylized and over the top makes it cool. If you make it realistic, I feel that kind of it takes away from that and it looks strange, but
yeah,
we'll have to see. And unfortunately, it seems as if not a lot of the tracks will be making its way over to the game due to licensing issues. I mean, it happened before with like Tony Hawk and other series, but there's going to be some new music in the games. But what is the weirdest thing about the situation, more than them coming out and doing a Lollipop Chainsaw remake, the craziest thing is that the original creator, Suda51, had no idea that this was happening. Neither did his development studio, Grasshopper, and also James Gunn had no idea. So literally, it was kind of like us. Yeah, it was kind of like us when we woke up in the morning and we saw that. Like literally, like we were in the same conversation as James Gunn and Suda51. Like, what? This is happening? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely not my bingo card. Like I said, if you were to put any other game out there, Lollipop Chainsaw is definitely at the bottom for being remade.
Really?
So I mean,
As opposed,
I would
what's
never
number one? What's number one at the top of the list? Because I got to see
Dino
this.
Crisis.
Look, Capcom. You listen. You gonna get yourself some Exo Primal, and you gonna be all right. You gonna like that Exo Primal.
Thanks. The biggest fucking bait ever.
Straight up, bro. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this because Lollipop Chainsaw is one of the games that, unfortunately, unlike the masterpiece that is Binary Domain, it's not available on PC. So that it was one of those games from that era of like PS3 and 360 where not every game came to PC. So it's still stuck on old hardware and it's not backwards compatible on Xbox. So them putting this game out again, I mean, if it's quality and up to snuff, I'll go ahead and support it. But it's just crazy. It's crazy you didn't even involve like the original creators. That's wild.
I'm surprised they didn't even give us like just a remaster. Like, hey, here's a 60 FPS Lollipop Chainsaw. Play it on your current gen hardware and PC.
Do you think maybe that's probably because I don't know if this Dragami Games is like a new publisher because I've never heard of that before. So it might be.
Obviously, I guess obviously if they're doing a remake and Pseudo 51 and James Gunn have nothing to do with it, obviously that could be a big reason on why they never did a remaster. And obviously more money for them, you know, in the long term of things, with everything being considered. But yeah, I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, I was pretty excited when it first got announced, more or less like, hey, that's pretty cool. Like it was just like unexpected excitement, you know, like, you know, I shared a Star Wars GIF with it on Twitter, the Palpatine one.
A surprise to be sure.
But a welcome one.
Yes, sir. So I just answered my own question as far as why it just came out of nowhere. So combined with the 10-year anniversary, Dragami Games is a new publisher, and they went ahead and they did purchase the IP from Kadokawa Games, and they already contacted Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers was, I believe, the publisher on the first one. So yeah, that's probably why all these things have just come together now in this perfect storm. And yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Let's see. Okay, so we're getting down to the final news stories. This one right here is going to be a quick one. It was just announced today. PlayStation introduced a new loyalty program called PlayStation Stars, which is essentially similar to what Microsoft has been doing for years now with their reward system on Xbox. PlayStation is getting in on the fun. PlayStation users will be able to complete objectives. Like they basically, the way they summed it up was playing games a month can earn you points, and you can use those points to redeem on the PlayStation Store. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for something like this because that's something I really do love about Xbox, how you get points for doing literally anything from playing games, doing quizzes, getting achievements. And if you rack up those points, which it's a very easy thing to do if you play Xbox daily, you can redeem those for actual money. Like every single month I do my daily quests on Game Pass, and every single month I get a $10 gift card. Like a $10 gift card to go and buy whatever month. Yeah, and it's simple stuff. You get 8,000 points, and if you do your daily like due diligence, you can get 8,000 points. You get $10 a month, and that's like DLC. If I ever wanted to buy it, that would be like $10 off a game. That would be like if games go on sale, I could buy like 2 of them. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for this. Yeah, dude, yo, do your Xbox reward points, man. Do all that stuff. It's very, very easy to get a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I mean, it's not like a major big thing. It's gonna be a game changer, but it is a good thing that, you know, they're taking from the competition. Exactly, they're catching up to the time, and it looks like it's gonna be worthwhile. But what do you think about this?
We getting gifting next?
Maybe the PlayStation 6 game, maybe that.
Maybe the PS6.
But yeah, so that'll be rolling out hopefully sometime soon. I don't know exactly where it is based off of this report, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. And also staying in the world of Sony, The Last of Us Part 1 remake, we got confirmation that the game has indeed gone gold, which is pretty awesome because it went gold like almost 2 months before it's supposed to come out, which is great because that means that, you know, everything has gone along swimmingly. But before that, we learned, well, it's not really something new, but it did bring up the whole discussion all over again. Robert Morrison, who is a a person who's working on this game. I believe he's worked on a couple of Sony games. He's an animator at Ben Studios. He worked on Last of Us Part 1, God of War 2018, Injustice 2, Resident Evil 7. He basically made a tweet, which was essentially he took a quote that a lot of people have been saying to describe Last of Us Remake, where a lot of people are saying it's just a cash grab. And he says, actually, it's the most meticulously built and crafted project I've ever seen or been a part of in my entire career. The highest level of care and attention to detail possible. And of course, you know, the internet went crazy and it prompted the discussion of $70 games being worth it and why is Sony launching a remake of a PS3 game that they already launched before, but now it's at a higher price point with half the content. And I mean, I'm just going to speak my piece on this, and I'll keep it short because I feel like we talk about this topic every other week, Gabe. Every other week, it's like
What the $70 game debate?
If it's not $70 game debate, it's Game Pass. If it's killing the industry, it's a whole bunch of other nonsense. And I'll say this much. At the end of the day, what it comes down to, value is going to be subjective depending on the consumer. So what I see as a great value, Gabe himself might say that that's a ripoff, and vice versa. Looking at something like The Last of Us Part 1, objectively, if you're being objective, $70 for a remake of a PS3 game that already had a remaster that plays fine, and you don't have the multiplayer content, it is very spooky. But who am I to say whether or not the quality of that game is going to deter people who are interested in playing it? Because based off of what we've seen so far, The Last of Us Part 1 Special Edition sold out within minutes. So while there are people who are saying, so there are people who are saying that $70 is too much for this game, and I'm inclined to agree with them. If the game plays like Last of Us Part 2 and all the visuals and all the stuff they've been talking about, because they've been showing some footage and it's looking really good,
yeah,
people are going to buy the game. People are going to support it. Does it suck that there's no factions? Yeah, but factions, it's its own game now. Like, it was supposed to be in Last of Us Part 2, but they're like, you know what? Let's make it its own game, live service. It's going to be a big project. But yeah, I'm tired of the $70 game debate. It's one of those things where if you don't like game pricing, just don't buy it or just wait for a sale. $70 is the price point. That's where the industry is going. I mean, it's not just PlayStation who's doing this. It's Activision. It's what's it called? A 2K. There's other studios who are testing the waters with like their like some of their games might have like something else and it'd be like $69.99, like their next gen version $69.99. It just is what it is. And I'm not even going to get into the whole discussion about inflation when you factor in that there hasn't been a price increase for video games for the past 16 years. They've always been 60. It's just one of those things where just vote with your wallet. If you don't care about this, wait for a sale or just stop playing it. But what do you think about this whole situation, Gabe? Everything happening with The Last of Us Part 1 and then also the $70 price point.
Essentially I agree with what you're saying on the whole, just the game itself being, you could play the PS3, the remastered version just fine, or you can play this new and better looking, narratively improving, quote, less mini game related version of the game, or you could or not. So I mean, I think that, well, for the start of it, that it's really good that it's gone gold way ahead of release. We never really see that. So I think that's a really good sign. I think it's, like you said, I think it's a really healthy sign. As far as the price point goes, honestly, bro, if they like I said, the mini game aspect to it, if they remove those fucking ladders, bro.
Oh, please, dude.
I'll pay $100 for that game, bro.
I was saying the exact thing. If they can change up the gameplay and they remove all the raft, ladder segments, Last of Us 1 is a day one buy. Like, if I go in there and someone says, yo, there's like 50% less ladder and raft segments, I'm plopping down the $70. Oh my God. But go ahead.
That's an instant buy. But I mean, as far as it goes, like it's a weird subject to talk about. Again, considering the game's not even 10 years old, because 2023 to be a 10-year-old game.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. And so we got a remake in less than 9 years, but I think what they've shown us and what like what they've discussed with us, I think it's worth the price if you never played it. I think it's worth the price if you have played Last of Us and you want to play essentially Last of Us and what the true like vision that the game devs saw the game as, because that's another thing they've also used is or at least Neil has said is that the game is looking in the way that they would have wanted it to look and be and play and feel, and just all the aesthetics of the game of what they had in their mind is exactly what it is now. So if Last of Us the Last of Us, like the original Last of Us, was only 40-50% of what they were hoping it was in their head, and the part 1 PS5 is 100% of what is in their head, I think it's fully worth the price, honestly. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go out and play it right away. I mean, I might play it right away. I'm not too sure yet, honestly. I mean, because I've already played through Last of Us, and I just played through Last of Us recently, like not even 2 years ago. So I mean, it's a really weird subject to talk about because it's not like most like remakes and stuff. It's like games are like PlayStation 2, like early PlayStation 2 games or early PS1 games, not PS3/PS4 game that, because The Last of Us came out the year the PS4 came out. So it's not like super old hardware, it's not super old tech. I mean, it definitely looks dated. I mean, if you look at the remake and the original, you could definitely tell that it's already, it shows, age. But I honestly, dude, I think that it's awesome that they basically remade the whole first game and what 2 is. I think that's awesome. Like, all in all, I think that's like the coolest thing like a dev has done. I mean, when you look at like what they're doing with Resident Evil, and people are like, "Oh yeah, they should do 4," and a lot of people were like, "They shouldn't do 4. 4 was is 4 still plays good. 4 is still highly accessible. They made a remaster of 4. They're like, they shouldn't do 4, and here they are remaking 4. So I I would say that the proof is in the pudding. The game's gonna speak for itself.
Absolutely, bro. That's the thing, because if you play Last of Us 2 versus Last of Us 1, I think you'll agree with this. It feels like a generational leap, like what they were able to pull
Yes.
off. Because Last of Us 1 was a PS3 game. It was a late in the life cycle PS3 game, but it was still a PS3 game, still running off that mindset. And now what they were able to pull off on the PS4, it's a fundamentally different game. Last of Us 2 is very much so, it's more about the verticality than anything else, which was whereas the first Last of Us was very linear in the respect that the way in which you go about traversing in stealth, it's usually just duck, cover, listen for clickers, whereas Last of Us Part 2 is a lot more about using your entire surroundings to your advantage. You can go underneath cars, you can jump into the water, you can climb to the top of things. So it fundamentally plays different than Part 2, and I understand that, okay, if they're selling this to newcomers with the show coming out, then that means that, okay, if we want to just bundle these two together and they play similar enough, you'll be good. So I think it's one of those things, the short term people will complain about, but in the long term, as you said, the quality will speak for itself. And I mean, Naughty Dog, they're very meticulous about the quality of their games. They have never released anything that wasn't, like, even their worst games are still leaps and bounds above the competition when it comes to quality.
Right.
So I don't feel like this is going to be them phoning in. I feel like this is actually going to be a very high quality project. And
Yeah, I definitely see it as a passion project.
yeah, so it is what it is, man. Again, goes back to voting with your wallet. And then I assume when the game comes out and people start seeing those comparisons, you're gonna get a lot of people who are on the fence. They're gonna be swayed over. I just have it, because games are fickle, man. You remember, we gonna boycott this game, we're gonna boycott that game, and it's like, what happens? Like Pokemon fans, yeah, I'm a boycott Pokemon. What are they on the day of? Oh, yeah, I bought Sword and Shield, but it's trash.
Right.
I'm like, okay, guy, okay, cool guy.
It's trash, but I bought the double pack. I bought the duo pack of it with Sword and Shield together.
Yep. And yeah, before we get into our final topic, Gabe, do you want to talk about what's going on with one Mr. Dr. Disrespect?
Oh yeah. So he's making. It seems like the subject of our last couple streams, NFTs.
Yes, sir. It's just
I
every
don't
stream we got to talk about it. Let's go.
right. I don't understand. So he's making his own. So he's making his own FPS game. From my understanding, from what the article is saying, he's doing a battle royale, and they had like a couple clips of him talking about it. So
A
the game
vertical
is
extraction shooter, whatever that means.
yes, whatever that means. Exactly, dude. That's it's literally the quote. It's literally the quote statement for every NFT game we talk about. What does that mean? It's literally like if there was a mascot for it, it would just be some broke guy with a broken record screaming, "What does that mean?"
Yep.
So I don't know what that means, but hey, it's an NFT game apparently. But it's free to play though.
Okay.
But if you buy the NFT, you get early access to the game and a copy of the game. But the game is like free to play. But they're really pushing on the whole NFT part. So like I don't understand. I'm like, so is it free to play or is it an NFT? Like, do you just buy the NFT and then you get to play the game early and then that's it, and then like the game's tied to your blockchain code or what? Like
yeah.
Like
so,
how do you tie a game license to an NFT?
So it's called Project Moon. The studio, Midnight Society, it's creating a AAA FPS blockchain game. Again, whatever that means. But yeah, they've been selling things like founders passes, NFTs for $50 a piece, and a whole bunch of other passes. Again, value, I don't understand that, but hey, you know, people are going to do that. But their statement was, our high level gameplay goals are to capture the essence of arena shooter level design with the scale and scope of battle royale player counts and the session to session gameplay mechanics of extraction based shooters. Okay. All right, you know what? I'm at that point now. I'm just like, you know what? Y'all got it. I feel like I'm at that point. I'm the old man. This is all the young man's game. Let them, if this is what they want to do and this is what the kids do, you know what? Y'all got it. Y'all have fun with that.
Yo, we boomers now. Like everybody's making NFT games. I don't know what any of this shit means no more.
That's what it feels like. We're boomers before 30, bro. That's insane.
Right? So like, I don't know. It's an interesting subject on it. And then I think the other thing they were talking about was that they're trying to make it. They're trying to recreate like the CS:GO skin market, but with NFTs.
Oh, good God.
So like apparently like you don't need to buy any NFTs to play the game, but if you buy NFTs, you get cosmetics for your character, and then you could trade those NFTs to other people to change cosmetics. I'm just like, hold up. Hold up.
Pause. Like, what is going on here? I have no idea. You lost me, bro.
Like, you know, I'll quote one of my favorite streamers. You know, if they really thought NFTs had any value, they wouldn't be fucking selling it constantly. And that's all I gotta say.
Absolutely, bro. So, yeah, that's an update on DrDisrespect's new FPS. All right, and moving into the final news story of the night, before we tackle our joint Thor Love and Thunder review, Skate 4. Skate 4, we finally got another update for this game, which has been awesome to see. EA's been going through a really weird paradigm shift as of late when it comes to game development. There was once a time where EA was the most hated company in the world for what they were doing to games. But as we've seen now with both the Dead Space remake, Skate 4, and then us hearing updates about the new Mass Effect and BioWare, it's like EA is letting all their studios just exist, which is
right.
Very, very strange, because it's just like gamers, especially fans of single player games, we kind of have PTSD when it comes to EA and Activision, because every single time they throw us a bone, like let's say Crash 4 or Tony Hawk, they just take it away from us, and it's like, no, you guys don't get this anymore. You get Call of Duty Support Studios.
Call of Duty Support Studios.
That's what makes you happy. But yeah, so Skate 4, they've had a lot of updates. Basically, like when they announced the game 2 years ago, they said it's very early in development, but we want to keep you guys informed. As far as the updates we learned today, because, you know, the game is still in pre-alpha, so it's got a little bit of a ways to go. We learned that the game is going to have cross-play and it's going to have cross-progression support, which is awesome for, like just how gaming is nowadays. You can play games on multiple
Right.
systems. And it's no longer titled Skate 4. The game is just called Skate. It's not a sequel. It's not a reboot. It's not a remake, but it's a new platform that'll be built on for years to come. That's just standard as it is when it comes to gaming. It's basically like 5-10 year plans if you're lucky. But the most surprising thing about Skate, this new title, is that it's going to be adopting a free-to-play model. Now, before everybody goes crazy, they did lay out some pillars about how they're handling free-to-play. When it comes to microtransactions, it's going to have no pay-to-win. No map areas are going to be locked behind paywalls. No paid loot boxes, and no paid gameplay advantages. Now, Gabe, you're someone who's more well-versed in the world of multiplayer, microtransactions, things like that. How do you feel about Skate adopting a free-to-play model and this formerly single-player focused game about people just dicking around having fun on skateboards? Now it's turning into a live service game, and they say you don't have to worry about all of these monetization practices. But what do you feel about this? Do you feel like this is just them saying some goodwill and then they might pull a bait and switch down the road, or it just could be one of those outliers that's like, hey, listen, we're one of the good guys? What do you think?
So like what they're essentially saying is like that is the ideal scenario you would want a free to play game to be. That is the perfect ideal situation. Um, I I don't know if it's going to be a bait a switch. I want to say no, mainly because the skate fan base is fucking crazy.
Absolutely.
And if they make any amount of this game like any amount of this game somehow pay to win, which pay to win in a skateboarding game, like come on, like come on,
Like,
like
what are
that's
you paying to win exactly? I'm
exactly.
confused.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm guessing stats when you you know how like skaters in most of those games would have stats, or the boards
Yeah.
that have stats and shit like that. I'm guessing like if they added some sort of like you buy a better skater or buy a better board, but like fucking people would be jumping ship off that so goddamn quickly. Especially that skate really devolved into more of a skill-based gameplay than what you would have saw like traditionally in like Tony Hawk games or any of the underground games, where like, oh, this guy's really really good on grinding, but like his kick flips and air maneuver sucks and shit like that, or his balance is really bad, but he's got great speed, like shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like ideally what they're saying to me, what their free to play plans are, is that's the best case scenario for a free to play game. It is a game you could just play and you don't feel obligated to spend money because you're not missing out on anything. Obviously it's going to be cosmetic stuff, and that's an escape game. I can see that being massive, and if it's
Mm-hmm.
well done, that could be where they're pushing down. I mean, look at Apex Legends. Yes, I know it's a battle royale, but that game pulls in fucking money,
A lot of
and
money, bro.
that is a online skill-based battle royale shooter, and that game makes millions of dollars just from the skins alone for the characters and weapons. So I could definitely see them doing a kind of system where I'm guessing they're gonna have, obviously they're gonna have matches, and they're gonna have, game modes and stuff. I mean, that's gonna be a given. Um I'm guessing like an open world hub style, kind of like Burnout is what I'm assuming they're gonna be like pushing forwards towards. So I mean, essentially what they're telling me, I like what I'm hearing. Yeah, it's free to play, but how they're doing free to play, like I said, that's like the best case ideal scenario you could do out of any free to play game. If they do a bait and switch, man, that is gonna be not only not only, like I said, our skate fans fucking crazy. Um, the any reputation points EA has been building up in the last few years, outside of the minor strokes here and there, like
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
um, um,
Colossal disaster, man.
Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Oh, that's EA BioWare. But still, Mass
Yeah.
Effect Legendary Edition. That was a huge success for for fucking for them,
Mhm.
especially because it ended up being a really good remaster,
Yeah.
and the changes they did on Mass Effect 1 was awesome.
Yep.
So they've had good things coming. They've had a couple bad ripples, but not enough bad ripples that make people completely want to throw up in their mouth. A couple gags here and there, but it's all good. I gag time to time. Don't ruin my day. But but I think it's fine. I think it'll work if they really do keep it in this like if they keep it in a Burnout Paradise kind of style, and it's like you buy cosmetics for your skater and your skateboard, and they have these events and game modes and different styles. Like I can 100% see this completely working. Essentially, how like Riders of the Republic is, but skateboarding, and it's free to play. If it's that whole business concept, that whole model, I think it'll completely work just fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Like I said, the game is still in pre-alpha,
Yeah,
so it's got
pretty fucking early.
yeah, so it's got like another year, probably 2 years at best. But since it is a free to play game, obviously they could launch, some type of early access just for people to like properly experience it. And they're all about getting feedback from the fans because this was primarily driven by the fans. This wasn't like
Yeah,
a move by committee, like, hey, let's bring back Skate. This was fueled by the fans who wanted to play another Skate game. The last one was Skate 3. And, it's just been a lot of excitement seeing the updates for this game. They have some playtests going on. They've been recruiting playtesters.
I
And
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, all the best. If there is a studio I really do root for, I want it to be Full Circle. Because as a casual fan of Skate, I don't play it like crazy. Every now and then I boot up Skate 3 and I just dick around for like 20 minutes. But it's just one of those franchises that it started on the PS3 and 360, and it was one of those games that you don't see anymore, right? You see
Right.
imitations, but you don't see anything that reaches that quality bar. So I really hope that this is a success for them. It's been over 10 years now. And I think if the Dead Space remake is on point, if this game is on point, if the next two BioWare titles is on point, we might be seeing a resurgence from EA. I mean, because look what happened with Respawn.
Jedi Fallen Order is a banger. I don't know how I missed that, but
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if it was just the Respawn clout because of Apex or just that game selling like crazy, but they could have charged.
Titanfall started it probably first.
Yeah, with the reviews. Even though Titanfall 2 was a colossal disaster at launch, it got such a huge following afterwards. But
had a good campaign.
Oh, fantastic campaign. I'm actually getting ready to replay that one here recently, just on Xbox.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to get some achievements, and I didn't play it on Xbox, so I'm excited to dive back in. But yeah, so that wraps up all the news for the week. Like I said, y'all, there was a lot more stories to tackle this week because we did miss last week and we wanted to talk about a couple of things. But now we're going to move into the final portion of the show for the next half hour, 30 minutes, and then we're going to call it a night. Gabe and I are going to discuss Thor, Love, and Thunder. Yes, as you guys know on this show, in addition to discussing news, every now and then Gabe and I will do some type of pop culture recap discussion. So we did one for Obi-Wan Kenobi a few weeks ago. You guys really enjoyed that. And it's the summer season. We got a lot of movies. So Gabe and I are going to talk about the latest Marvel one, that being Thor, Love, and Thunder. Now, I've already spoken my piece about this. I had a lot of charitable, not so charitable words to say about Thor.
No, you did not.
On Twitter, and then on my recent Ask Neo stream, where if you want to get my full unfiltered thoughts, go check out that screen.
Honestly, that shit was that was a fun listen.
But I wanna pass the mic over to my sweaty brother Gabe. I want to get your verdict on this because you actually saw the movie before I did.
I did, which is really weird.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around just because of the time zones and everything.
And time zones, and I feel like you go like I don't know what time they do movies over there. So like for us, we can start seeing these movies at 3 p.m. here.
Yeah, same here.
I don't know. Okay, cool. So I always go to a later show because I hate crowds. I'm a night owl, and I always have Friday, Saturdays off. So like I might as well just go to the late show and just enjoy myself. But yeah.
You really get crowds
Um,
at the 3 p.m. ones? Like, so for me, I've noticed, unless it's a
um,
big movie like Spider-Man No Way Home, when I go to the 3 p.m. screenings, like you'll get a decent crowd, but not like the 6 p.m. right after the
our
9 to 5s, you know?
our Dolby's really nice here. So like that shit sells out really fast. Like our Dolby is like the Dolby that I go to is newer, and the AMC I go to is a lot newer. Like it's like
Hmm.
it is maybe 4 years old,
Oh wow,
maybe
wow! So you got
maybe
the new
5 years,
initiative. You got that new
maybe.
initiative AMC, the new shit. Nice.
Yeah, it's not that old, man. Like that theater is like up to date as shit, and they always up that like, and anytime they like AMC does changes, that theater always gets it.
Nice.
And I've been to plenty of them around the neighborhood, and that one for whatever reason, it's probably because it's in a really nice shopping center, a really nice
Mm-hmm.
part of town. That one's just like
On
pitch
point.
perfect.
Excellent.
But yeah, so I did see it before you. Um, I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I do have complaints with it. I do not think it's a perfect movie. I do not think it's a perfect movie at all. I don't think it's the best Phase 4 movie. I don't think it's the best Marvel movie. I just want to put that out there. I enjoy the movie. I could probably watch it's probably a movie I could watch again. Mainly cuz I think the movie is fun, but that's about it. That's it. The movie's just fun. That's all I could say for it. As far as everything else for that movie goes, I do have gripes with, like, my biggest gripe is the pacing of the movie. The pacing of that movie, like, I can't tell if it's just all over the place or if it's just like it's going really fast. And with the things that Marvel's been saying lately and how long the movie is, I want to just say it just has to do with the runtime of the movie, because I can't remember the last time we had a MCU movie that was under 2 hours long. And I feel
So
like,
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I believe, clocked in
was it?
a little over 2 hours, like a smidgen. But that's not too different from the first Doctor Strange movie. The first Doctor Strange movie,
Okay.
before the credits hit, it was like I think an hour 50, and also Thor Ragnarok, I believe, was like 2 hours even. So it's
Was it
similar.
really?
Yeah, yeah, surprisingly, yeah.
Oh yeah, 2 hours 10 minutes. Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, and that's counting the preview, so it's probably just
Huh.
like an hour 58 minutes when everything is all said and done.
Well, I guess I take that shit back, because I always thought that they were always really long. They always feel really long. So I guess in the end, yeah, those movies just feels rushed. That's one. It's a move. The way they did this movie, it would have benefited off of like a 2 hours and like 30 minutes, 2 hours and 40 minutes type movie. It would have benefited off of a No Way Home kind of runtime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did feel it was rushed. Like, Mighty Thor, 100% rushed. There
Mm.
was very little explanation on any of that outside of the initial flashback sequence, which I thought they would go back to eventually, but they never did. It was just Thor talking to his hammer and the runes popping up, and they never went back and explained it. I thought they'd go into some sort of like Asgardian explanation, and that would make it cool, but they didn't. So like shit like that still bothers me. Um, Gore. Every time Gore was on screen, every time Christian Bale was on screen, he stole the fucking scene. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hands down. Every time he was on the scene, I loved it. But the man was hardly in the fucking movie.
Mm, 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 mm.
Like, that man was barely in the fucking movie, bro. So like, uh, uh like, bro, it that was the biggest disappointment, honestly, in my book, was how little he was in the movie, how little he was, and how rush Mighty Thor was. The storytelling on all that, it just, again, it just feels like a big rush deposition. But as a movie, as a fun factor, I find the movie very fun. I feel it's good to look at. Um, the first half hour is like the best fucking part of the whole movie. Like Chris probably thought that was some goofy ass shit, but
Oh
I
boy,
fucking
I got some things to say.
but I fucking the moment he took off his robes and Welcome to the Jungle started playing, and you got the fucking like these puppet birds, like you could tell like they went with puppets for the movie, and him just it was just over the top fucking ridiculous. And maybe it's just me, dude, but I love that shit. I eat that shit up. Like I snort that shit up. I'll put it in my coffee. Like I love when things are just over the fucking top. Like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon was like one of my favorite like DLC games to play because of how ridiculous it was, and that's all it gave to me. I enjoyed that whole like first half hour of the movie. To me was really fun. And outside of the fun like aspect of it, I really enjoyed the whole intro monologue to Christian Bale's Gore character. I really like that whole opening scene. Like it's weird because the tones in that movie shift so much. That's another complaint I really have. Because the very
Sounds like you
beginning
got a
of
lot of complaints about this movie, bro.
I do have complaints, but
A lot of them.
I do have complaints, but like I still enjoy it. Like I don't see these like I don't see like watch the movie and not see these, but like there are things in my mind that like they don't ruin the movie for me completely. They don't ruin the movie in a sense of that I didn't enjoy it. Like like it's the same kind of situation with Star Wars. Like I don't think any Star Wars movie is perfect. Like even like the originals. Like I don't think any of them shits are perfect at all. I could do a whole hour complaint about each trilogy and still come back and tell you why I love them so much. So like with like Thor, Love and Thunder, I'm just going over my complaints first, honestly. I'm going over my complaints and a couple things I really did love. So the first half hour I really did love. Gore I really loved. Natalie Portman, Strangling Mommy, really loved
Oh,
her.
hell yeah.
Needed more of her. Needed more of her in that movie, bro. Especially because I will tell you know I will tell you one thing that did piss me off over the whole thing in the movie. How you gonna bring back Jane Foster and just kill her off at the end, bro? How you gonna do that, bro? That did leave like a sour. That probably left the biggest sour taste in my mouth. Was I thought they were going places and things. I mean, like I did smile at the end of the movie when it said Thor will return. Like because I was a little worried that it was gonna be like, you know, Chris Hemsworth's last Thor movie. But like outside of that, I just thought the movie was entertaining, honestly. I thought it was entertaining. It had some good scenes. Um I don't think it's the best MCU movie. I don't think it's the worst MCU movie. I still think there is way worse movies. I definitely didn't feel the deep dark, passionate feelings you feel, Chris, when you were talking about it from Instagram. And the funny thing about it, bro, is that I really feel like this movie, as far as it comes with people, it's really fucking split on like the like ratio of it. Because like I see a lot of people, you either love it or you hate it. Or there's people who I've seen who've hated like most of the like the phase 4 content, but they loved Love and Thunder. So I really feel like this movie has a huge split. And I feel like that was the same way with the last Doctor Strange movie. Because there's a couple of my friends who like I fucking love the last Doctor Strange movie. Like and I had a couple friends who just absolutely like tore that movie a new asshole, but they were all about Thor: Love and Thunder. So like
That's insane.
it's interesting to see. It's an interesting perspective to see. I don't discredit anybody's opinions on it.
Yeah.
Like if you think it's a shit, if you think Doctor Strange is shit, but Thor was great, good, or if you thought Thor was shit and Doctor Strange great, that's great. Like, or if you love both, then you know more power to you. I didn't think it was the worst movie. There was a lot of things I felt like this movie could have done better. And outside of it just being a fun flick to watch, I don't really feel like it gave me any sense of story progression of Thor outside of the ending. And I'll say the ending I'm probably a little biased on just because I'm a dad. And so
Hey, that does
so
it does hit differently now because you can relate to these movies
so
in a way that I can't relate to them now. That's true. That's true.
like I will say if I were to label everything in this movie that like positive wise, I think my favorite, like my most positive like favorite scenario for Thor in this movie was I feel like it was the first movie he came out with a W. Even though the movie wasn't like the best one, I still feel like him gaining something in his life after he just lost, like he just kept losing in every single fucking movie he's been in. And
And he still lost something in this movie too.
True. He did lose Jane. He still lost Jane. Yeah, he lost his love, but he got a scary alien daughter that from a man who was committing genocide. You know, whatever.
Hell yeah.
It was like if Frieza's dad, Captain Cold, died and he adopted Frieza. Bro.
Oh, good God, bro! That comparison, Jesus Christ, that comparison.
But I'll let you take over, Chris, because I know my shit's too like campy and positive, and I gave you what I didn't like, and I definitely do feel like it did bring down the movie like a couple notches. Like I said, I don't think it's the worst. I don't think it's the best. But I'm not on the level that you're at where I'm saying like wait till Disney Plus fuck this movie because I honestly I probably would see it again, but I mean that's just me. I can't say shit. I saw Rise of Skywalker 3 times in theaters. I can't say shit.
Alrighty.
On that note, I'll let Chris take over.
Yes, sir. Pass the mic back over my way. No, all things considered though, Gabe, all things considered, your viewpoint was actually pretty balanced. You talked about the stuff you liked, a lot of the stuff that you didn't. In my case, bro, there's not really anything in this movie that I like, which is so funny because with the MCU, for the most part, even the movies that are not on my level in terms of enjoyment, I still find one or two things that I gravitate towards. But recently in Phase 4, the only movie that I saw that like I couldn't find anything good of enjoyment was Black Widow. I mean, if you say Florence Pugh, I will say, because Florence Pugh is awesome. Yeah, I love Yelena.
I keep forgetting it's a Phase 4 movie. I know Black Widow, like massive stink, bro. Like I'll watch Eternals 10 times over, bro. At least
holy shit! Eternals, that's the bro. Eternals feels like it's longer than the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, bro.
But at least Eternals has a really really good fucking final act. Like regardless,
it's pretty good, yeah.
Regardless of the movie aside, if you were just to compare scenes to Black Widow's fucking pathetic fucking Taskmaster,
Speak on it, King.
Bitch had a USB port in her head and they downloaded fucking MP4 video files of the Avengers.
Don't bring that up again, dude. Terrible. But yeah, back on point. So Thor: Love and Thunder was the first movie since Black Widow, which isn't a long time, it's only been a year, where I couldn't find anything I enjoy. Like I'm actually a big fan of Thor Ragnarok. I think that it really rejuvenated a lot for the character. Yes, it was definitely more comedic. And if anyone comes up to me and they say they don't like Thor Ragnarok because they felt that it was too jokey, I agree with them. I understand that. Because some people want a more serious Thor. But for me, it had a better balance. It had a good balance of the funny moments, but when it was serious and time to get to business, which was like the final act, you know, where Thor was fighting Hela, and then he got, you know, his Thor.
That shit was really good, dude.
It was great. And then I'm looking at Thor: Love and Thunder, and to me, it feels like they just doubled down on the worst of the worst, the humor. And I don't mind humor because the MCU, you know, it has a lot of humor. But when you're tackling something, and optics is key when it comes to Thor: Love and Thunder. When you're introducing a character like Gore the God Butcher, which if anybody's read the comics, they know Gore is a very, very major player in the story. Like the stuff that he's got going on, his whole character as it relates to Thor and what he does, his feats, comedic tones and elements really don't work. Like his scenes are serious, but everything else surrounding the movie really bogs it down. Like those, it's not like jokes to just bring the scene up. Like let's say there's something really traumatic and then you have like a bit of humor thrown in there for good measure. It wasn't like one of those things. It wasn't like, let's say, Captain America Winter Soldier, where you found out like Nick Fury was assassinated and then, you know.
Oh yeah.
And then or like for example, like the perfect point in Captain America Winter Soldier when what's it called? They were on the run and then Steve found out who like the Winter Soldier was and it was Bucky. And then there was like this little joke that what's it called? Like I forgot what the joke was. But you know, like you understand what I'm saying. Like where there's like little bits of humor thrown in there just to bring like,
Right.
you know, like happy smiles to the room for a bit. In this movie, it was like literally all the serious stuff had humor injected to it. And to me, that doesn't really work when you're talking about a guy that literally goes around and wants to commit genocide against all the gods. Like the movie baits and switches you. In the beginning, it's a very serious point. You have
Yeah.
gore,
Very serious tones.
his daughter dies in his hands, and that's about the extent of the backstory that we got. We don't really hear about what happened to his wife and everything else, but you know, he meets up with a god and he figures out the gods are just a sham, and then he murders the god right then and there. I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's about to get serious because this is how they set the tone. But that was the only god in the movie that you actually physically see Gore murder. Like throughout the film, you hear like, oh, there's reports of Gore assassinating all these people, but I don't think that's good storytelling. If you tell me that he's doing all these things, I want to see it. This is Gore, the God Butcher. Like in the comics, Gore decapitated Celestials. Gore did so much stuff to show his feats. And when you have this villain who comes out there and says, so this is my vow, all gods will die, and Thor's a god, and you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, if this guy is able to kill all these other gods and he's coming after Thor, that's crazy. But they never really established Gore as that menace. All you did was hear that, oh, there's this guy who's killing people, but you never really see that. And I'm not saying that that's like because Gore himself, I don't really consider him a villain because what he's doing is completely justified. Obviously, like villains, what they do from their point of view is justified. But to me, like I look at what Gore's been through and everything, I'm like, yeah, I can agree with him. But what kills me is that they never make him that threat to the characters in the world. Like perfect example is Thanos. The beginning of Avengers Infinity War established that Thanos is a bad mother trucker, man. Thanos, the first thing he does, he wipes out half of Thor's population, like on the ship. He murders Heimdall in cold blood. He chokes out Loki right in front of Thor, and then he just destroys the ship. Like that right there is how you set the mood and tone for a villain, and it worked great with Thanos. And you never really got that with Gore. And the scenes that he's in are good, but there's just so few of them, and they're so few and far between that I can't really care about his character. You've got an amazing actor in Christian Bale. You don't give him a lot to work with. He does his best, but I was thinking like, because it would be such a great parallel to what Thor is going through in the movie. Thor in this movie, what they're setting out to accomplish with his character is finding your purpose after these major events. Like Thor felt like he was on autopilot. He felt as if, okay, he's only existing to help people out when they need him, but what else is giving him his life purpose after Endgame? Like, what is it? And then throughout the movie, as he meets up with Jane Foster again and they rekindle the romance, it becomes this story about not putting yourself on guard and learning to love again, which I think is a very beautiful concept when you have the character of Gore. And there could have been this whole relationship between Thor and Gore talking about those things. But as it stands, they barely got any lines of dialogue in the movie until the final act when Gore dies. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing here? So for me, again, I think it goes back to what you were saying, how this movie felt extremely rushed. Like this movie should have been a 2.5 hour film. And I think if it was much longer, yeah, the jokes would still be there. But if we got the back stories, if it was fleshed out,
interactions, way more interactions.
Yeah, if we had those things going on with the characters.
Which is weird with the reports saying Marvel is saying that they wanted this movie to be under 2 hours.
And that's another thing we'll talk on when we finish it up. But yeah, like as it stands, what we got, I don't really think it did too much for a lot of the characters in the movie. It was great seeing Natalie Portman. I think she kills it as Mighty Thor. But again, I wanted to see more with her. And I think with the storyline, the cancer storyline, which I got to say that they got some balls to actually adapt that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm glad they did that. Cool. But we didn't really see much of it. I mean, it's just, it happens and then that's it. Valkyrie, no type of character development in the movie, like, which kind of pisses me off because I like Tessa Thompson. I like Valkyrie. And I think the concept of a warrior going and becoming a king and then dealing with the administration, I think that would be a real interesting dynamic juxtaposed with what Thor is going through. And then, you know, it's all about finding love and finding your purpose and passion and blah, blah, blah. She doesn't really have an arc in this movie at all. She's just there to, like, when Thor says he's going on another venture, she's like, I want to come with you. That's it. Korg is just there for laughs. And that's the thing, bro. I didn't really feel like there was much weight to anything that happened in this movie. It felt as if, like, you know, where you have the main movies and then you'll have like the tie-in comic adventure where the characters go on something. It's not like a full-fledged movie, but it's like a little story that they do. That's what I felt Thor Love and Thunder was. It wasn't like a big adventure. It felt very small scale, which is insanely strange considering this is like the most expensive Thor movie and one of the most expensive MCU ones. Visually, I didn't think it really looked that great outside of 2 scenes.
Pause note real quick. I gotta let someone in the house.
Oh, okay, sure, no worries.
Sorry.
Okay, you good. So I'll just finish up real quick, and when Gabe comes back, I'll catch him up to speed. But yeah, it was like there was just so many conflicting things about this movie. I'm trying to figure out like what went wrong in the editing room or when they were filming it, because this is not the Taika Waititi that I know. I've seen Taika Waititi's work before Thor Ragnarok, after Thor Ragnarok with Jojo Rabbit. And he can pull off some really good stuff. And here, there wasn't that balance whatsoever. There was a lot of tonal inconsistencies. Like, for example, when Thor is going and, you know, butchering the gods off screen, you find out that he fought Sif off screen and she lost an arm off screen. And her and Thor are making jokes about it. It felt like a major parody of Thor. Like the movie didn't want to take itself seriously. Like, no. We want to make a joke out of everything. That's what the fucking the Thor Asgardian players, like, you know, Matt Damon, Sam Neill, Melissa McCarthy, what they were doing, that's what the joke was for. Why do I feel like that is the plot of the movie? Like, those people, that's the story that we're seeing. And it just overall, bro, I didn't really gain anything from this movie. And I don't think it has to do with the fact that, you know, after Avengers Endgame, people have to establish themselves. Marvel has to establish themselves. They have to go ahead and do things a little differently. It has to be small scale. I don't think the scale is necessarily the problem. It just comes down to telling a really compelling story, having a great narrative. And honest to God, when you have a character like Gore, this should have been a serious movie. You can have your jokes, but make it a serious movie. And they just chose not to do it. And I don't know, man. Like, they're talking about the future of Thor with Hercules coming in. Who the fuck wants to see Hercules versus Thor? After Thor versus Gore should have been one of the most epic things out there. We're supposed to believe that, yeah, Hercules, now we're going to have fun with that. Like, no, man. Nah. You know, it just was so disappointing, man. And again, if your goal is to sell me a comedy movie, at least to make it funny. A lot of these jokes, been there, done that. You can see it coming a mile away. The new jokes they introduce, like the screaming goats, it's funny in the beginning, but then after they play it 3, 4, 5 times, it's like, we get the point. And then there's another weird reoccurring joke that happens. There's this weird, like, it's so strange, but we find out that Sentient and Mjolnir are somewhat sentient, right? Well, I'm sorry. Stormbreaker and Mjolnir are somewhat sentient. And there's this joke that's played where Thor sees Mjolnir and it's like, oh my God, Mjolnir, I haven't seen you forever. Stormbreaker gets jealous and then it becomes like a joke. And when it's played the first time, it's funny. But then that joke keeps coming back and forth and back and forth. It's like, bro, come on. Can we just like hone in, focus up? Like, please, can we just, what is going on here? What is going on? The action in the movie wasn't that great. There was no real notable set pieces that were anything better than what we've seen before. The whole scene where they're on Gore's planet, like Gore's just kidnapping children because he's kidnapping children. He wants to lure Thor away to get Stormbreaker, and he wants to get to eternity. Like that's his sole motivation throughout the movie. And I'm like, wow, this is what they've reduced Gore the God Butcher to. And he ends up dying in the end of the movie. It's like, okay, so I understand Marvel wants to kill all the villains in all their movies and they don't want to make them reoccurring. But really? Like, it's one thing if you create the greatest villain ever and then kill him. That would be awesome. But you didn't do that. You gave us so little. And it's just, it's sad, man. It's sad. It's absolutely tragic. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's the worst MCU movie, but it's definitely like bottom of the barrel, bottom 5 for me. So this is like around the area of like Thor: The Dark World and, you know, Captain Marvel and, you know, Black Widow, Eternals, like that bottom pool of like 5 to 6 movies that I really have no desire to watch. And if I was going to rewatch them, they would definitely be on a rewatch. And yeah, I lost. This is like the first MCU movie I've seen. Well, Eternals as well. This is like the first MCU movie I've seen in a while where I just don't feel anything for the future. Like Doctor Strange, even if, you know, you might not have been the biggest fan of the screenplay, at least like some of the stuff that they have set up in the future is potentially interesting. And they talked about inversions and they talked about more multiverse stuff. And this right here, this Thor movie, I'm like, fam, you don't like all that goodwill, all that credit from Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, especially Infinity War, how we saw Thor and he had that conversation, that deep conversation with Rocket Raccoon about loss. And if he's not prepared for Thanos, what else can he lose? Like, what more could he lose? And then to see that, and then we go to this Thor who is a complete and dumb oaf. It's like, dude, do you not want to take these characters seriously? Like, Tony Stark cracks a lot of jokes, but when shit hits the fan, Tony Stark is a very serious individual. Thor, who has experienced the most loss out of everybody in these Marvel movies. Thor lost his mother. Thor lost his father. He lost his brother, die multiple times, and then he saw him die for good right before his eyes. He's seen like his comrades die in battle. And his homeworld, he was responsible for the destruction of Asgard, and he had to come to terms with that. The Asgard's not a place, it's a people. He's lost so much, and you could have played that type of a story. You could have done so much with that story of loss. And we started to see inklings of that in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. While some people didn't like Fat Thor, I felt that it was a nice progression for his character because it showed that this man was spiraling out into depression. Like, he had all the power in the world to kill Thanos and save everybody. And just because he didn't go for the head, boom, everybody died. And then he had a second opportunity and he realized that he was too late because Thanos already destroyed the stones. Like, that will do a lot of things to a person. And in Endgame, one of the most beautiful parts was how, even though Thor was depressed and he felt like he wasn't worthy, his conversation with his mother, it showed that depression does not make you any less worthy. And that was really beautiful. And then what the fuck do we get in this movie? Like, I don't feel like Thor learned any lessons. Like, what lesson did he learn? It's okay to love again. Don't be guarded. All right, cool, but could you better illustrate that, please? And all the other stuff that you got going on? Seriously. So, considering I don't know how long it's going to take for Gabe to get back, but might as well speak on some of the other stuff that's been going on surrounding this movie. It seems like a lot of our fears about, well, a lot of our suspicions about the film, I should say, had to do with the fact that a lot of this movie ended up on the cutting room floor. There was originally a 4-hour cut of the movie, which they say that about everything. There was a 4-hour cut of Black Panther. It's just how it is in the editing process. You just have a really long movie, and then as time progresses, you whittle it down and you find what type of a cut works for everybody. But in this movie right here, every single time we talk to actors, whether it's Christian Bale or Taika Waititi, we find out that there were a lot of scenes cut in the movie. Grandmaster's role cut from the movie. Peter Dinklage, Eitri, the dwarf, cut from the movie. And there were rumors that the reason why they were cut was because Gore murdered them, which I can understand from a continuity point of view. Killing the Grandmaster so soon is a problem. But still, other gods could have been slayed. Lena Headey's role was cut from the movie as well, whatever character she was playing. And yeah, it just adds on to everything else we've been talking about. Yo, where's the rest of this movie? Like, what is going on? And then there were rumors about Disney mandating it come under 2 hours. Now, if I had to guess with my limited knowledge, maybe that was because they wanted to get more butts in seats, because how it works in movie distribution, the shorter amount of time, like runtime your movie has, the more show times you could have in one theater on a given day. So unless you're an anomaly like an Avengers Endgame, which was a 3-hour movie, and because it was so popular, they gave it priority access. Most movies, they go based off of their runtime. And when you have a shorter movie, that means you can have more screenings. A 2-hour movie, you know, when you factor in like what it takes like for cleaning afterwards for theater, like probably like half an hour, you can fill more butts and seats versus like a 3-hour movie. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted that movie to come in short because they could fill more butts and seats. But again, that's just so sad, man. Like at that point, we're sacrificing the quality of these movies, and I'm very concerned because Phase 4, I don't necessarily think that it needs a goal to keep itself on track. I don't necessarily think that because we know what the end game is for them for this new thing. It's Secret Wars. But I think what's really lost is the quality of these films. I think that on their own, they're not really great movies. They don't stand alone. And I don't think that's because of the connectivity and the narrative tissue. I think that's just because they're just not good. They aren't. Like Shang-Chi, I really enjoyed until the final act, which became a CGI mess. No Way Home, I didn't really care about that until, you know, all the cameos and multiverse stuff started happening. And then from there, you got Eternals, which was a dud. You have Black Widow, which was a dud. And then now you have Doctor Strange, kind of divisive, but it made a lot of money. Thor, very divisive, probably will still make money. That's not good. That's not good. Like, yeah, MCU Phase 1 and Phase 2, some of those movies might not be the greatest. Some of them might just be very by the book, but at least there's a quality there. Like the first Iron Man movie is a very quality movie, regardless of whether or not you care about it being part of a cinematic universe. You know? And then when you start getting into stuff like Captain America Winter Soldier, which is regarded as one of the greatest comic book movies. And even my sister, who's not a big fan of superhero shit, she really loves Captain America Winter Soldier. She always watches it when it comes on TV. But going forward, it's just like, what happened to that quality? You know, it's just more about pushing the brand and the IP, which I understand when you're building a universe. But still, you can do both. You can do both, or at least make it artistic. Like Thor Love and Thunder looks like somebody shot it in a nigga's basement. That's what it felt like, bro. Like, you watch this movie and all these shots were just heavily green screened and everything looked so last minute. Like the VFX artists, oh, it's another thing. The VFX artists were also working very hard on all these Marvel projects to the point where they're extremely overworked. It's like gone are the days of MCU movies looking distinct and having a lot of charm and flair and looking great. Like the VFX that we saw in Avengers Infinity War and how amazing that movie looked, and the first Doctor Strange. Like you still see that in the second Doctor Strange, but then you see a lot of choppy CGI as well. Like it's like, where's the quality? Where's the quality, man? And then I haven't even talked about the TV side of things. The TV side of things is looking hella spooky, bro. Extremely spooky. Like, yeah, there's some shows that people might enjoy, like WandaVision or Loki, but then there's a whole bunch of inconsistent stuff, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. Good concepts, good lessons, good morals, and then some of the episodes are duds. What If? You know, Miss Marvel, which just wrapped. Moon Knight. It's like some of these shows have good elements to them, but I feel like Marvel doesn't know how to make a TV show and how to differentiate that from a movie. Because all these things feel like they were shooting movies and then they just chopped them up into episodes. When that's, from a narrative point of view, that's not how TV shows are shot. TV shows have a beginning, middle, and end of an hour runtime. And they're supposed to build towards something. As it stands, it feels like these Marvel shows either start really strong and fizzle out, or they start really weak and then they build to something and then the show is over. And I'm getting tired of that shit, bro. Like, it's been a solid year, like a year, almost 2 years. We're at the 1.5 year point of Phase 4 of the MCU, and there's nothing that I can come out and say like Above and Beyond was truly transformative. And I know some people might say like, well, why are you looking for transformative shit in combo movie? Well, because there was a point where we did get movies like that. And now everything is just so flat. Visually flat. The writing is flat. The vision is flat. Everything is flat. I guess that's the way I'll describe phase 4 of the MCU. But yeah, I don't know where Gabe is. He said he was going to go open the door to someone, so he's probably talking about stuff. But if you guys have any questions or comments in the chat, I know y'all are listening. Feel free to ask them. Feel free to ask them while we wait for Gabe to come back. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. It helps out the channel and the show tremendously as we continue to grow this audience of ours. But yeah, any questions you guys got? Hopefully Gabe comes back in the next couple minutes. If not, I'm just going to wrap the show up for the night. And then, you know, we'll just reconvene next week. And we'll be like, okay, that's exactly what happened afterwards. But I'm going to go ahead and look at the chat real quick and see what some of y'all guys have been asking. Okay, so I see a lot of people talking about The Boys and how that's better than anything the MCU has put out. Yeah, that's the thing I love about The Boys. The Boys, it feels like a TV show. It knows exactly what it is. It's structured as such. And it's pushing the boundaries, like not just from a gore perspective, no pun intended, but in a lot of ways. Like the writing is really solid in that show, and it keeps you invested and entertained. And then you contrast that to the Disney Plus shows, and those just seem so, like, you know, they're never going to be greater than what they are because, oh no, you got to check back for more. So that's very disappointing. The Batman and The Boys keeping comic media alive and fresh. Yeah, like the Batman, I really enjoy that. I know some people complain because of the runtime, but I really enjoyed the Batman, and I'm extremely excited to see where this universe goes because, like what Marvel used to do, they laid a great foundation and they got you excited with what they got because the quality, they built the pillars. They built the pillars. Marvel hasn't even, they dug up the land, but they didn't put anything there for you to really enjoy. Black Panther is the next film, so I hope they found a way to make it work. Even Black Panther, I'm very nervous about because, you know, of course, with the passing of brother Chadwick Boseman, and the fact that they didn't push that movie back. I'm gonna be real. The fact that your main lead in the film passed away and then you did not push this movie back like a year or two, you know, like obviously COVID pushed it back, but I'm saying in general, for you to retool everything, that's very concerning. So what it seems like we're going to get in Black Panther is it's obviously going to be focused on the world of Wakanda. Some of the players on the side are going to have to step up, like Shuri and Okoye. And I have no problem with the Dora Milaje and Okoye and, you know, some of the characters from the first film, but they can't hold this. They can't hold this movie up. You need to build those characters up for a couple of movies and appearances. Then if there was ever a tragic incident where they have to take over, you can. But I don't think people are really going to buy these characters holding the film on their own, which is why they're going to bring in Namor, and they're going to hope and pray that Namor is what really steals the show. And then they'll probably make like M'Baku the new Black Panther, which I love M'Baku. I love Winston Duke, but Black Panther is T'Challa. He will always be T'Challa no matter how many times they try to swap the mantle or blah, blah, blah. And, you know, as offensive as it sounds, I feel like they should have recast. I feel like the legacy of T'Challa should have continued with another actor. I understand why Marvel Studios didn't, but to the same degree, I feel like that's the world of Wakanda is going to suffer. And at that point, it's kind of sad if you are a fan of Black Panther, especially if you are, you know, a fan of representation in the media. Like, I feel like we had just scratched the surface of what was possible with Black Panther. And then now with Chadwick gone, they're going to have to reshuffle everything else and hope and pray that it works. And honest to God, I'm hoping if Ryan Coogler can find a way to make Black Panther work and it feels great and it has heart and soul, you know, more power to him. But I don't know. I don't have too much faith in that. $4.99 from Robert Slade. Worried about Black Panther 2. Not sure if I'm behind MCU Shuri being Black Panther. Would prefer T'Challa recast or an alternate Killmonger, but oh well. Yeah, literally some of the same things I was saying, bro. And yeah, MCU Shuri, you know, Letitia Wright's controversies aside, I don't really think it's not gonna stand, bro. No one, like even Black Panther, like people were indifferent to Shuri. Like they were like, oh well, she's just that kid scientist. That's it. Like no one stands Shuri like that. Matt Reeves ruined comic book movies. Nothing is as good as the Batman. Yep, that's the thing, man. DC, I feel like DC's in a really good situation, you know, with the Peacemaker TV show, with the Batman. But then they have some things you got to be worried about, like the Flash and then Aquaman, with the controversies of you know, Amber Heard and of course Ezra Miller being a real life Reverse Flash. I don't know, man. I don't know, but either way, it's going to be exciting to see what they come out with. Like Blue Beetle, I'm interested in. I want to check out Batgirl, Black Adam. It's kind of becoming the new Morbius in the sense that, yeah, it's going to save cinema because, you know, it's just The Rock being The Rock. But we'll see. Neo, do you know about Marcel the Shell with the shoes on? Yeah, we were talking about that on the last stream, Film Lover, and I'm actually going to see that this weekend. Oh god, these Black Adam jokes. Let's see. Let's see if Gabe. Yeah, he hasn't texted me, so I hope everything's all right with him. Let's see. But any other questions, you guys? Any other questions? If you guys are listening, ask me questions. Hopefully, Gabe will come back to us soon enough. Let's see. Heard about Nintendo buying it out in an animation studio. Yeah, they bought an animation studio. I think they did like mocap on Nier in a couple of games. Did they say the purpose of doing that? Was it primarily to work on the games, like provide higher quality, you know, technology? Or are they actually getting into the animation business and they're producing their own, like television shows or stuff? When is DC going to bring back Superman? Honest to God, I don't know, bro. I don't know, dude. DC is just such a jumbled mess. They keep shuffling through creatives and higher ups and executives, and they just have no direction, you know? I mean, I would love to see another Superman movie with Henry Cavill, but I'll just believe it when I see it at this point. Some people are speculating he might have a cameo in Black Adam. I'll believe it when I see it, my friends. Are you pre-ordering Thor Ragnarok? Yes. I mean, I'll just buy it when it comes out. I mean, I'm not really. I might get that. I think, like, I forgot what edition I wanted to get. I don't want to get the expensive one because I'm just like, I'm not interested. But I'm definitely buying it when it comes out. If anything, I'll pre-order it just so I can get the download out of the way and play it on launch. Is 2022 the year of A24? It looks like it, Film Lover. They've put out a lot of good stuff. Oh, we got Mr. Platink in the chat. Neo, happy early birthday, sweet man. Hope your big 29 is super special, giving you all the hugs to celebrate. I appreciate that, Mr. Platink. I haven't seen you in a while, so all ball's well with you, man. But thank you. Thank you for the early birthday wishes. We got Z Original. DC is at their best when they hire auteur directors to craft their own standalone film universes instead of fitting everything into the DCU. Nolan Trilogy and Matt Reeves. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. I feel like they could have crafted a good universe. The problem is, they don't have a visionary. They don't have a Kevin Feige. They just have executives who lead by committee. And the second something goes wrong, like Batman versus Superman, they fuck up all the other plans from Suicide Squad to the Justice League and all that. So I think it just comes down to having someone who knows how to steer the ship. But as it stands right now, it seems like they're doing a lot of Elseworld stuff. And I mean, that's cool. That's great. But what I want from DC, I mean, I'll always want that connected universe because I love these characters and I want to see them interact. And I want to see them grow and bond. But if I can't get that, I'll just take really good movies like The Batman. Thor Love and Thunder was insane, especially when Thor at the end said it's Thorbin time. Yo, that was the best part about the movie. And of course, the Jared Leto cameo. They say Nintendo bought the studio to create new visual content, but what it means is pretty vague. Yeah, that can mean anything, man. That could mean like stuff for their games, like cutscenes, or it could be animation. Maybe they'll put out some shows on Netflix or maybe some shorts or whatever. It's pretty vague, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. Nintendo, they don't really buy a lot of stuff, so when they do, it's always really interesting. But yeah, it's 10:15 p.m. you guys. I have no idea where Gabe is, so I really hope everything is okay. I'm actually gonna call him after a few minutes, but I do want to wrap up the stream because it's getting pretty late and people got work tomorrow morning. I want to thank you guys so much for coming through to the Sweaty Cast. This is session number 7. Thank you guys so much for showing y'all support. Again, if you enjoyed the stream, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out the channel tremendously. And also give both Gabe and I a follow on social media. Our handles are going to be down below in the video. Like what you're watching right now. My @ is NeoGameSpark. Gabe's is @ ShutUpGabe. So give us a follow, and we are going to be back next week, next Thursday, to talk about all the gaming news. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much. A lot of y'all have been here from the very beginning, which is insanely awesome. And very, very awkward sign off, because it's one person and another person is just in limbo. Like this man, maybe Gabe went to go find eternity. That might be what it is. Holy shit. But yeah, signing off from the Sweaty Cast, from Shut Up Gabe and myself. My name is NGS, signing out. And like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace out, y'all. Stay sweaty.